So there's two types of relationships that work and everything else fails.
For me, life as a man is all about choosing your addiction. I empathize and I relate to people who are addicted to shit because we're also very addicted to a lot of things.
If a woman that's 2 out of 10 thinks she's an 8 out of 10 and she comes at you with that confidence, it's kind of, we as men need female energy in our life, especially when you're 19, you're full of testosterone. And the better you can deploy that in your life in a positive way, the better it will be for you. And it's fun. What 19-year-old guy doesn't want to talk to women?
But because women react very much off a feel, emotion, react basis, they very rarely actually study their psychological manner. But because guys are so desperate for validation of girls, does she like me? What's she thinking right now? A girl never stands there like, do I like him? Nah, next.
They normally consult their friends instead.
Guy,
is he good?
I don't know. This girl commented on his Instagram. Okay, in that case, we're taking a f***ing risk here, telling you guys about this, so listen the fuck up and stop being bitches.
Outside of the orange, is it just because it's quite out there?
Yeah. Look, suit's one thing that you can probably wear very plainly but still be out there. You can wear a navy suit and look like sharp as fuck. You can't wear a navy tracksuit and look sharp.
No.
But I could wear an orange tracksuit and look like, yo. So this is like the double of both. Maybe unnecessary. But
No, I love clothing because clothing, just like your physique, has such an impact on how we feel internally. And as a result, the confidence that we either exude or don't, as a byproduct of how we feel with what we wear and the way we look. And this is one of the things I tell guys all the time. This is an easy win. Get your shit right in terms of your physique and then wear things that make you feel confident. And it's not really what is fashionable, it's what you feel good in, because ultimately, you know, it's the same with women. Like if a woman that's a 2 out of 10 thinks she's an 8 out of 10 and she comes at you with that confidence, it's kind of infectious, right? It's that confidence, but that has to come from somewhere, which has to start internally. So whatever you need to do to feel confident, and an easy win is just what you wear and how you look, then by all means crack it out.
I think the baggy era came at a really interesting time. Like the era of baggy clothing came at the same time that people were beginning to call curvy attractive instead of calling people fat. And this whole baggy clothing idea, which allowed people to be fat underneath clothes and look like they were a normal human being. You know, even guys, the difference between having a six-pack and having a 25% body fat, it's big, right? It's a big difference. It's a difference of probably health, of like optimizing health. So baggy clothing was interesting. People just walking around in baggy clothes, looking sharp, but really just fat.
So now you're wearing suits that you feel out of your comfort zone, or did feel out of your comfort zone.
I do anything to put me out of my comfort zone.
Why?
I love it. It's where I feel most growth. It's where I feel like I allow my brain to understand different perspectives. Some will teach me lessons and I'll be like, yeah, that suit was not a good idea. And some will be like, wow, it feels amazing. Why does it feel amazing? What's the underlying message to it? Interesting. Take that on board.
I think in life it's really important to put us into positions that are so far above our comfort zone that when we then drop back to something we would have found uncomfortable or difficult before, it then feels easy. So I actually use this method in weightlifting. So before I used to do a PB on, say, squats, I would go into the rack, I would put 300 kilos on the bar, which I had no intention of lifting, but I would pull the weight off, put it on my back just to feel something that was way above and beyond what would have been my PB anyway. So that when I backed off to 260 kilos, which is the heaviest I've ever lifted, it felt light in my mind because I'd artificially created an environment way further ahead and more uncomfortable than what I was actually originally going to feel extremely uncomfortable. And things like you said, putting yourself out of the comfort zone does that. It makes what used to feel extremely difficult feel completely normal. And actually now you set your new point way further ahead by pushing it, which is interesting. So I wonder about the clothes.
How do you constantly maintain like reaching outside of your comfort zone? Because once you're a sustained human being and you've got your shit together, you're fit, you're healthy, you look good, you take care of yourself, and you're financially where you need to be, you're working hard, you're growing businesses, everything can become, you can put everything on like a gear 3, right? And just cruise it at 60 down the motorway.
I think it's a completely personal choice. So you got to have a why. Like there's that whole cliche saying of, with a why, like pretty much anything is possible. And like you say, the enemy of a great life is a good life. The easier life becomes, quite often, the less we are incentivized to push and drive. And because it does kind of make sense, like why should we constantly put ourselves in a perpetual state of discomfort and like turmoil and pain when you wake up in the morning, you're in like a very nice house, you've conquered life, your family's good, there's enough money in the bank to retire on, yet you still go up every single day and fucking crank. Because for me, my why has always been more, but that's me personally. I wanted to create a legacy and do something more. And also, I've spent a lot of time around highly successful people that in their late 30s, early 40s made so much fucking money that they decided to go traveling, chill out, and then hit 50 and they're utterly miserable because an empire builder that was the kind of person that got up every fucking day, regardless of the weather, regardless of how they felt, went out and fought an enemy, created a purpose and identity in and around building an empire. They built that empire as a byproduct of the fact that they get fulfillment from building empires. They were never meant to go and sit in it and enjoy it. That's for other people. That's for other people. Everyone else can, like your family, your wife, your kids, your parents, your friends, they can go in there, but secretly, you like the battle. And I've seen too many men that have built a great empire think, fuck it, I'm gonna go and enjoy the spoils of war. And actually, really, that wasn't what got them off. It was actually the fight, and that's what we're addicted to.
I was waiting on the word addiction. I was waiting on the word addiction because for me, life as a man is all about choosing your addiction. It's all about choosing. And this is where I empathize and I relate to people who are addicted to shit. Like, pornography, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is. Because I think people that are healthier human beings like ourselves shouldn't look down on them and go like, your problem is being addicted. You're reliant on this. Because we're also very addicted to a lot of things. Mm-hmm. It's about choosing the healthy addictions that provide you with health notoriously is the most important one, right? What allows you to be the healthiest human being? Because when you're the healthiest human being, you can be the best family member, you can be the best friend, and you can be the best impact on your environment around you. What would you say your addiction like?
I'm a highly addictive person. So much so that I scare the shit out of myself. I've never touched a recreational drug. I have never, ever gambled because I was petrified that as soon as I do it, I might not have the self-constraint to stop. So, and that's me being totally transparent and vulnerable with you. I'm still not sure, even to this day, if you put me in and around those environments, how I would react, because I know what I'm like when I'm in other environments, like with the gym. I took that to a toxic level. With work, I've taken that to a toxic level. I have done things every single time in my life to a super extreme. And I've seen that others around me, like you said, there's a lot of people in rehab, in the grave, that had the exact same trait and mindset as Elon Musk, as some of the biggest entrepreneurs, as some of the biggest fitness coaches, as some of the biggest whoever, but they just made different choices and were probably more introspective and potentially had a more stable emotional state and probably a better network around them. And it's the influence, I think, which is huge. So I also have been fully aware, and this is something I've actually discovered probably in my more recent years, and it's really difficult to understand. Guys like us that have that unrelenting drive and thirst, and this is what you said earlier, how do you keep that why going? How do you keep that drive going? I realized that I'm addicted to progress. I used to set goals. I've hit every single one of my goals in my life, and every single time, even before I've hit the goal, I've changed the goalpost. Because I realized that I derive fulfillment and happiness from growth and progression. Hitting the goal is just a temporary pleasure. I actually only ever want to see progress. So I get fulfillment out of never being fulfilled because I know that that's the criteria for someone to do great things and build something amazing. If you didn't have that trait, you would never go through the irrational pain to get that amazing thing. So I'm proud of that and I lean into it, but I'm also very careful what I allow myself to be around and what I'm addicted to, because I could go completely off the rails, like bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because at the point of work and progress you've achieved, it's like you trust yourself, right? Mm-hmm. In a lot of environments, but then to not trust yourself in other environments. Whereas for me, self-trust is all about trusting yourself in every environment, like failing so much that you get to the point where you trust yourself to fail. for me, this is the ultimate level of confidence. I see a situation in front of me, and this situation tells me, Diego, don't fucking do it. You're gonna fail. It is scientifically impossible for you to achieve whatever it is you're about to do right now. And I go, yeah, I know, and I'm gonna do it. And that's the level of discipline and self-trust that kind of I've achieved, which I tell guys, when you continuously build the cycle of taking action, understanding the value that you possess, and then the confidence that you gain within that, you can do that. So what stops you from doing that from situations like that? Or is that just you protecting yourself and more so being like, I don't need to put myself in them positions?
To be honest, you make a really valid point about the understanding of failure, because that's very similar to the 300 kilo bar analogy. And I've done the same. When you suddenly realize you're not made of glass, you're willing to fail. And this is probably more true, I would say, with regards to like finding females and being rejected and starting businesses.
How does that work, finding females? What's a female?
But most men, most people in general are scared to even try because they're more scared of the failure and the embarrassment of that, or what misconception that they've made up in their head about how that's going to come across to others, to themselves, than even giving it a go. And as soon as you actually, by accident or forcefully, fail, and you suddenly realize that, fuck me, nothing actually happened. Life is still going on, and I get another shot at this. And not only that, I've got data to build on to now improve on my second attempt. That's empowering. That is really empowering. And I think that's something that you've obviously done incredibly well at a young age, as have I. Some of mine were forced, some of them were accidental. But still, I think the biggest lesson for me was actually I take full accountability of it, but my first business partner, my first multi-million pound e-commerce business, when I was, I made my first million at 19, had the business pretty much destroyed by the time I was 22, my life like turned upside down, was like my first big failure because I thought I was the fucking best thing since sliced bread. However, deep down, I didn't ever know whether it was luck, whether it was skill, because I'd never done it once. The failure taught me that, after I wallowed in self-pity for a week or two and I decided to actually make the decision to push back again and start building something else and doing it a second time, I can fail and actually still get the fuck up and move. That is unbelievably important and probably one of the best lessons I've ever had.
The two questions that change my life and change people's lives around me when I have conversations are, what are you scared of? What are you afraid of? And someone will tell me something so simple like, Diego, I want to create content. And I just haven't been able to do it yet. I haven't had the time. And I look at him in his eye and he'll be like ready for a lighthearted conversation and be like, what are you scared of? I'm like, what? I'm like, bro, I just wanted a bit of advice on content. I'm like, what are you scared of? I'm like, I'm not scared of anything. I just I don't have the time. What are you scared of? And when you repeat the question enough times and, they'll actually allow themselves to process it, they'll understand that it's always a fear driving their negativity and their inability to actually do something. In everything, fear is the biggest controller and negative impact on men all around the world. So it's always, first of all, if you're asking yourself, it's always, what am I actually scared of? Not what are the repercussions, what could go wrong, but what am I scared of that's stopping me from doing this? Because if you want to do something or you understand that you should do something and you're not doing it, it means you're scared of something. It means you're scared of the energy you're going to put into it. It means you're scared of the rejection, the failure, the obvious ones. It could be you're scared of heights, whatever it is you're scared of, you need to ask yourself, what it is that I'm scared of. You need to, identify the fear and then understand how to essentially move yourself away from that fear. And then the second question that I ask myself always, and I tell people to ask themselves is your life in danger in the situation? If the answer is no, do it. Are you going to die? Diego, I can't do this because she's here and he's there and blah, blah, blah. And there's so many factors that tell me that this is not possible to achieve. Are you going to die? No, do it. Is your life in immediate danger right now? Okay, do it. Because at the end of the day, unless our life is in immediate danger, we're only going to grow and learn from whatever situation we're in. So there are so many situations in life where you sit there and go, I can't do it. There's this beautiful girl over there and I've just been to the gym and I'm sweating and I don't smell great and it's not the most hygienic thing. She might think Is it going to kill you to go and talk to this female right now? Is it going to kill you to stand up on the dance floor and have 5 people watch you while you bust a shit 2-man step? Is it going to kill you to break your comfort zone and do something that invites judgment from other people, as I say, 99% of the time, the answer is no, but people still won't do it. So when you apply the question of, is it going to kill me? If the answer is no, do it. You're breaking the cycles of negativity, of a lack of action in your head, and you're allowing yourself so much room to improve, to take action, and to build charisma as well on a massive level.
So I think, to your point, fear gets misunderstood. And I think the belief systems around fear is what actually creates the negative impact that fear has. Now, fear, out of everything, is probably the biggest motivator or easy motivator for every human being, for either inaction, to run away, to fight, to do something or not to do something. And where fear gets misutilized is that it's normally deployed in a short-term reaction to something that I really don't want to do this, or my immediate future might be at risk, or something that's completely irrational is something I'm fearful of. And it's reframing that, because for me, a lot of people talk about deriving motivation from gratitude and finding other motivating factors. While those are fantastic, the easiest and quickest one is to tap into fear. Like, if you can tap into fear, but in a positive way, then actually we can create very powerful movement very quickly. So one big thing that I talk about people, or to people all the time on, is you're fearful of leaving your job to go and start something that you know will make you happy or give you the freedom that you've been banging on about every Monday morning for the last 10 years. That 9 to 5 that you hate, or that boss that you have to work for, that business is, you're still going hand to mouth and struggling to pay the bills and feed your kids. And you're fearful of leaving that to go and do something else just in case that doesn't work out. Well, motherfucker, you're already unhappy. So the fear that you should be deploying is getting to 80, looking back at your life that you had one shot at, and suddenly realizing that you made every single decision based on short-term fear that stopped you making the one decision that you knew would actually get you the life that you wanted. And you spent the entire 80 years actually knowing that without actioning it, because you had this short-term irrational fear. When the real fear, if you utilize it, was every time you think of that short-term thing, like, is it going to kill me? This is where that comes into. Fucking no, it's not. But me wasting my life effectively is. That's me living through a monotonous cycle, day in, day out, hating my life.
Living as opposed to being alive.
And that's what you should be fearful of. And it's anchoring the right fears in a positive way and negating the short-term irrational fears, and just get a bigger fear that's more positive, that drives you to positive action, that overrides the ones that stops you from taking action. And like you said, always liken it and allow you to give perspective by, is this going to kill me? What's the worst that could happen? Well, fuck it, it's actually really not that bad. I always work from a worst case scenario, and this is how I overcame the fear of my businesses, for example. People go, Elliot, how do you take the risk? Well, one, get fucking skilled in that thing, so that then the risks that you take are lessened because you're good at the things that are less likely to fail. And secondly, what is absolute worst case scenario? Well, I might have to go back and live with my mum in a small room with the kids, and it's going to be an absolute nightmare for a little while I get back on my feet. But that is worst case. We're not going to starve to death. We're not going to have a roof. It's not that we're not have a roof overhead. We've still got heating. We've still got clothes. I still have the ability to go and build it again. So if that's absolute worst case, but upside is, well, I could be a billionaire and have the life that I want. What's the decision? There isn't one. The fear of not having that big thing that I want and the life that I really want is way more overpowering. So you're doing the exact same thing.
It's so relatable. I use the fear of regret to drive my entire currently building empire. And I use that, and I related that massively from girls. And the best analogy is to use it with girls, to where you're looking at the scenario. If I don't approach this girl, and I get on I'm at the tube station, she's there, I'm here, I get on the tube, I go, on that whole tube station, like, fuck, I should have gone to talk to her. And that's the easiest thing to say, oh, I should have gone to talk to her. Well, you should have, but you didn't. That emotion, that feeling, that acknowledgement killed me. It was the worst feeling ever. Because I was like, well, technically, if I should have done it and I didn't do it, that makes me a 1 + 1. Yeah, I'm a bitch. And when I came to that acknowledgement, that was my biggest fear, of having that feeling and understanding of regret. So my question to myself always is it better to find out for myself or regret not finding out? Because that woman standing over there could potentially be my wife. Why not? Where else are you going to meet your wife nowadays? On Tinder? It could potentially, that random woman sitting in the coffee shop or working behind the coffee counter or standing next to me on the tube or shopping in Zara could be my wife, because the alternative is I might meet her out on a Friday night.
I say it's
blah, blah,
fucking
blah, blah.
refreshing from a guy of 23 to actually even mention the word wife.
Yeah.
No, genuinely, the fact that you say that is like, I also get misconstrued my message that you should wipe yourself off from day one and have no fun. I don't believe that at all, because like anything, you need to split test, you need to try, you need to experience women, and you need to experience life to find someone that's actually going to have a massive impact on your life and pick the right fucking one. And without data, you can't do that. So you need to have the ability to be able to experience and test. And to do that, you have to get good at attracting women, or at least speaking to women, or actually experiencing women, because otherwise you're going to be forced to make a decision that's not really out of your control.
So I have such a difficult balance in my communication to not only my community, but my audience, because I have 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
Actually, we had this on the call the other day, and they're telling me, Diego, you preach not investing energy into like negative girls. You know, for me, like if a girl's coming over to you and be like, what car do you drive? This, like, tell her to fuck off. Like, that's negative energy, right? And the balance between telling a guy of 18, focus on yourself, develop yourself. You need to be the core of everything you're building, but also chat to millions of girls. Text all of them. Chat to all of them. Have 4 girlfriends. I don't care what you do. Like at 18, 19, speak to every single girl you see on a day-to-day basis. The 90-year-old at the fucking, on the bus, and the 20-year-old at the coffee shop. Talk to every single woman you see and just get good at flirting with women. If you followed me around everywhere, you'd see that I flirt notoriously more with 80, 90-year-old fucking women. I flirt with them. I'll be like, hi, oh, sorry, gorgeous, like this is this. In my communication, I'm very complimentary, charismatic with the way I talk to people, and that allowed me to transfer that to everyone. And also, I'll have like a mum and a daughter. Daughter's 24, mum's 47, whatever, and I'll go talk to them. Like, I'll flirt with the mum, make the daughter jealous, you know, have a bouncing conversation, but just generally telling guys to talk to as many girls as possible, but also focus on yourself at the same time. If an 18-year-old came to you and said that same thing, like, I don't want to focus on girls, I want to put all my focus into building myself, building a business. What are you saying to them?
You need to have an understanding of how to speak to people in general. Like, you can't completely shut yourself off from females, and you can use the same, and I use the same analogy, and people think that I'm very cold when I do this, but the biggest successes I ever had, especially when I was younger, was through my businesses. I was fucking up relationships at the same time I was growing very successful businesses, and I was like, there's something in this. I'm approaching my love life and my emotional life completely different to my business life, and one's doing really well and the other one I'm making really poor decisions and not quite nailing. So, well, if I take some of the concepts of commercial life and apply them to my domestic life, let's see how that plays out.
What were the biggest things you took from me to be?
Example, when it comes to women, and like you said, speaking to lots of women, for me, it's like, okay, well, if I want to find the best member of staff, I'm going to do lots of interviews. I'm not just going to interview fucking one and make the decision to bring that person to the team and make it work. Also, I have to understand how to deal with staff and how it works, and then not be scared to hire people and maybe go wrong, to understand really what works. So the whole time I'm building a very successful business and, you know, I'm investing in myself, effectively the same thing, you also then have to be trialing and building the ability to attract those people and also understand how to speak to them so that you don't scare them off like a fucking weirdo. When they come to the interview and they're like, well, this boss doesn't know how to speak to me. Like, he has no clue, no social skills, no nothing. There has to be a bit of both. Plus, we as men need female energy in our lives. I think it's very important to, especially when you're 19, you're fucking full of testosterone, to have feminine energy around you as well. And the better you can deploy that in your life in a positive way, the better it will be for you. And it's fun. Like, what 19-year-old guy doesn't want to talk to women and have fun and experience and trial? And that's not to be an arsehole to women. That's not necessarily to sleep with all of them. It's just to experience the social side. And I think one thing that people misconstrued, what I think your message is as well, is you're talking about talking to them. You're not talking about sleeping with every single one of them. You're not talking about breaking their hearts. Well, you might be, but but in essence, it's like, you're not doing anything demeaning. You're talking about flirting and making them feel good. You're not going to break their hearts and fuck up their lives and everything else. And I don't think that would be your intention anyway. No. And also, let me ask you this. To what end are you telling these men to get good at speaking to women for? Is it purely for sexual? Is it purely so that in the future they can have something more? Like, what is the main goal of it?
the main goal is experience, full stop. You need to have experience in every single
Agreed.
field. So yeah, to completely relate it to the experience of talking to people and communication generally. If you can sell yourself to a girl, you can now sell something to a business owner, and you can now sell an idea to an entrepreneur, and you can sell yourself to be incorporated into someone else's business, etc. Selling yourself to a girl is essentially the hardest thing to do. And it's actually the best way to sell yourself to a girl is to build your value up where you don't need to necessarily sell yourself to a girl. I mean, talking on the relation of like business to females, my friend had a business, really successful business, and we was talking. I was actually a lot younger, and I asked him like, bro, like what's hiring people? It's super difficult. Like, what's the process to it? And he said to me, hire fast, fire fast. Hire people quickly, fire people quickly. Get in and out the trash. And I was like, okay, interesting. So that's something that I notoriously do with a woman as well. Like fire fast and hire fast. So that relates to that aspect. I mean, when guys can use the knowledge they gain off of interactions and the experience they gain off of interactions, they also understand that they're somewhat valuable, because when you get good at communication and when you master your charisma, you can now talk to girls and they like you and they're interested in you. So also when you are looking for that potential settle down girlfriend, wife, or when you're at least open to it, because looking for it is can sometimes be a very poor decision. When you're open to it, you then understand your value, and that aligns with your choice, directly correlates with your choice in women. Because a lot of guys that don't understand their value and haven't had much experience talking to women will just grab the first kind of thing on the shelf and hold it down and ignore all the red flags behind it, which can just end in, well, normally is going to end in catastrophe, or a relationship where a woman has to wear some sort of pants, which she's going to be very uncomfortable with, right? So when you experience life, real life, talking to people, understand your value, understand the art of communication and the art of charisma, and understand your value. I'm coming to a woman now who I am looking at as a potential, serious relationship, and I'm saying, babe, I've spoken to 1 million girls over the course of my life who think I'm the absolute shit and are waiting for a reply back. Like, you have to come correct if you want me. There's the backup of that, where I have to come correct in my roles of masculinity to allow her to then take them roles of femininity and be comfortable in them. So it's a balance, but for me, it's experience and understanding your value hugely. A lot of guys don't understand their value until they talk to girls, and the girls are like, "Oh, you're actually super cute. Like, you're cool. Like, I fuck with you. Like, you want me to suck your dick?" Like, yeah. And they're like, "Wow, okay, I can get this girl to suck my dick. Suddenly, I can, I'm actually a man of value." It's a form of validation for guys, unhealthy and healthy in retrospect. There's levels to it. Sex is like probably the most notorious and real life form of validation for men. How much can I get laid within my life of 18 to 24 will tell you how valuable you are in them years, because every form of value is adding to your level of attractiveness to a woman, right? Now, the unhealthy manner that can go in is a guy going, wow, I'm really good looking. I can perceive myself as someone who has money, or portray myself, as someone who has money. So now I'm fucking a lot of girls, so I'm going to stick with that because now I'm a good guy. And then you neglect other parts of your life which never get built. And then you're 30 with a body count of 300 and you're like, yeah, cool, I'm really good in bed, but no one wants to share that bed with me and no one wants to have my children.
I think men should get good at selling women. Where people go wrong is that they don't understand that should stop at some point, because the biggest sale of your life, because everything in life is a sale, is selling the woman when you find her that you want to be your wife. And that day that she arrives and you know that she's the one, you need to be a fucking good salesman, because the person that you pick to sell that to, providing you can sell that person in your journey, on your life, and have them part of that, will be the most impactful thing that could possibly happen to you. It'll help you more than you could possibly realize in terms of your fulfillment, the support that you're going to have when you're out there fucking in a very cold world at times, in a very lonely place, and she's the only one around that's not fucking you over.
She's literally investing in you.
She's investing in you.
Literally.
And you need to be able to sell her on that at that time. So I think this is a training phase in those periods to get to a point where you can do that when that time arrives. When you're open to it, when the time is right, you can drop the hammer and actually make that happen. You have to be the person to do that. But so many fucking men continue down that path, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, fuck, I'm on my own, I'm dead. And that's a travesty, because the party's got to stop at some point and you need to grow up. And that's where that fine line is really important. And like, I'm trying to educate people on knowing that and like seeing it. You see this fucking 6-year-old guy saying like Beetha, like, Ooh, every year. You're like,
Shout out Wayne Lineker.
But point being, it's like no one else thinks that is okay, and we all feel sorry for you. That's not cool. Like, you missed the mark there, mate.
So then proposes the question of psychology of selling, and how is the best way to sell yourself to the biggest investor in your life? Because the more you sell yourself, the less respect and value you'll hold, as of anything in life, right? LV products don't get sold. They're sitting there waiting for you to come. And even if you look at Bugattis, you literally have to sell yourself to buy a Bugatti. So if we're looking at the value of a Bugatti, it's like so high because they're taking your money and still qualifying you outside of money to buy it. So where's the psychology of selling yourself, but not selling yourself to the level where the woman goes, well, if you have to sell yourself that much to me, I'm actually losing respect and value of how accessible you are.
There's some big misconception on selling. So that's like desperate, needy, forceful selling versus investing in yourself so much that you sell yourself. And I liken that to, if you're like, when you walk into a club, right? You know, if you're going to get a lot of female attention when you walk into that club and you get hit on pretty quickly by a woman, because every other woman in the club is then looking at the guy that's getting hit on by a woman because that guy must be of value. It's the complete opposite for men. When we see a woman getting hit on by a load of guys, we're almost repelled by it. We want the one that's unique and kind of the unicorn in the corner. But women, they go for things that are already exuding value. And the same as Bugatti. They got validated by all the people buying the Bugattis. So it's selling itself, but it just doesn't have to vocalize it or push it. They sell themselves through exclusivity by the fact that they know that they can have whatever they want. But that didn't happen overnight. That car business, that manufacturing business was built over a long period of time. It picked its clientele right. It focused on quality over quantity. And it did a different investment approach into itself and the way it looked, so that then the people in and around it will sell itself. You've invested so much into yourself that you now sell yourself without having to say it or push it. It's a very different thing. And that's the confidence that you then derive, which is also a sale. It's just people misconstrue selling to direct sales, whereas there's push-pull marketing. They're both marketing, but one is I'm pushing it on you, literally, and the other one is this is just going to pull you towards me. And like you said to that, the biggest investment you can make is in yourself in all areas.
So effortless selling is the way to go.
Pull marketing.
Yeah. If we start talking about the psychology of like attraction, then
it's ironic though.
We're in a whole different conversation.
It's ironic that it's called pulling, right? Like you're pulling a girl, i.e. she's coming to you. You're not pushing a girl. In fact, two very different connotations entirely.
I feel like guys just aren't psychologically intellectual enough to understand the concept of a push-pull. It's very difficult for men in this day and age. Listen, our attention span is so short because of social media, right? So we're now not good at taking like more than one instruction, developing the instruction, the information, and then producing it on a multifunctioning level. So guys now kind of aren't so good at understanding the balance of talking to a girl. When I tell guys, like, what's the most important thing I say, bro? It's like, okay, so go over and say something like charismatic, provide energy to the interaction, provide value to the interaction. All right, so I'm going to say this line. Boom, I'm going and I say this line. Fuck. What now? It's like flow. Like just flow with it. Like, I can't. Like, which one? Flow or say this line? So the psychology between pushing and pulling with a girl. Female attraction is the most interesting, and this is where a lot of my love for what I do does, and this is where my connection still lies into teaching guys how to actually talk to girls specifically, is the fascination behind female psychology. And dare I say, the ability for myself with enough research and enough experience to actually understand female psychology better than 99% of females. I think that's such an interesting perspective to have. And of course, experience plays a part in that. Like a female has the experiences of being a female. But because women react very much off a feel, emotion, react basis, they very rarely actually study their psychological manner. But because guys are so desperate for validation off of girls, we study their psychological manner. Does she like me? What's she thinking right now? A girl never stands there like, do I like him? What am I thinking about the situation? It's like, nah, next. You know, that's 99% of the
they normally
process.
consult their friend instead.
Yeah, literally. It's like to their friend, hey,
Is he good?
I don't know. This girl commented on his Instagram. I know this girl. She's a slag. Probably leave him there. And it's like, okay, that's the end of the interaction. So the fascination of psychology of women is crazy to me. I speak to women on a daily basis and I'm like, why do you think you like this about guys? Why do you think assertiveness and confidence is so attractive in a guy? And they're like, it makes me feel good. I'm like, no, it's not at all. It's like your brain is so far away from emotional control because of the amount of chaos, beautiful chaos inside of women's brains, that when you see a man maintains all the characteristics that you envy, that you probably have come to a conclusion that you're never going to have and doesn't suit the life of a female, it's insanely attractive to you. So, you know, diving into like the push-pull and the psychology behind it, when you study that really well, that's kind of the pickup industry that I don't like, you know, because it goes into like, you can have girls crawling at your feet when you really master the psychology of it, and that's when it gets kind of unhealthy because it's fun, but you don't necessarily need that.
Yeah. So from my perspective, then, when does a boy or a man decide to make the leap to actually getting something more serious? Because I get asked this a lot, especially by younger guys. I'm like, okay, when's the right time for me to get into a relationship? Because like you said, I also agree that it's massively unhealthy to constantly be pursuing a relationship. Like I see men just fucking waste and squander their life trying to pursue a relationship when if they just focus on other things, the relationship would have happened as a byproduct. But then also it's, we don't want your whole life to fucking go by because you were so, because then the opposite happens with that as well. We're like, oh, I'm not looking for a relationship, so then become completely closed-minded to it. And then the women that are just right in front of them going, hello, like the good ones, they're like, oh, I didn't see her. Like I was like looking way past it. I was so insular and introspective with my thoughts that I just missed all the signs. So obviously your world is very much like the prerequisite to that, which is what I like. But at what point do you think that changes? Because I know obviously you're not at that point yet, presumably.
No, I mean...
But you, one day you've mentioned it. I don't know if it's jokingly or not, but one day you will have a family. Is that something you're looking to in the future?
I think this is the only proclaim I make without experience, with a lot of...
Thank you.
With a lot of kind of assertiveness, is that I find life without children, or the idea of life without children, as a man, well, and a woman, of course, like very, very pointless. It's maybe my most negative like mindset to have. Like life without children just doesn't really make sense. It's like all of this and then what? But like all of this and then this, like the idea of that for me is it makes everything make more sense. And the world is an insane place as it is, right? Nothing makes sense. If we dive deep enough down to it, no one has provided enough of a sense for this world to make sense, beside from religion, right? And that's why, you know, part of the idea of religion is so huge, because without religion, life actually doesn't necessarily make sense. And I think life makes 300% more sense with kids, as opposed to not. You have the beauty of experiencing that. I don't think I do. The answer to that remains censored.
It's like
back to Colombia next week. I'll have a kid run into the plane as soon as I get off. Papi. You're not mine, mate. You're not good looking enough. So for me, it's about being ready. I've experienced relationships, and I'm fully in the mind frame of understanding that relationships are more beautiful than like relying on validation and wanting constant sexual approval of females. But I also understand in my journey, there's a certain amount of dedication and, you know, attention you have to give a woman that probably doesn't or isn't sustainable in my life right now. When does that come from a guy? I think guys should be looking to, as soon as possible, develop themselves and put themselves in as many uncomfortable positions and experience as much as possible, as quick as possible. That doesn't mean like do it all and then neglect it, but every opportunity you see, like we talked about earlier, failure, every opportunity you see yourself that you can fail, that you can experience something new that you haven't done before, do it. Just do it. I don't care what you're scared of. I don't care who told you to do it or not to do it. Just do it. And then when you kind of understand that doing these things that make you uncomfortable will create a more experienced and wise person, then you're in a situation where you understand yourself a lot more because you've been a lot more vulnerable with yourself, and you've actually asked yourself questions that a comfortable version of yourself wouldn't have asked. And when we achieve that kind of mindset that I can continuously grow and become better, if I'm taking, or if there's a female in my life, I'm with the right mindset of health and level of respect. To put an age on it, it's not compatible. But then would you tell a guy that hasn't got his shit together at 32 years old, don't go and explore the option to settle down? Lucky for us guys, we can be very successful at 35, 36 and then look to start a family. Does the appeal of being a young dad matter? Probably. You want to relate to your kid a bit. So there's a lot of questions. But for me, as a guy, to the general population, develop yourself, understand yourself fully, grow and experience as much as possible, and then open yourself to the idea that a partner in your life could improve your level of productivity, could improve your level of purpose and happiness, and you're in a place ready to explore settling down and building a family. I think the whole girlfriend thing without a wife, without the intention of being her wife, is probably a bit boring. There's no point in having a girlfriend that you don't see as your wife. It's a waste of time. Just tell her, listen, I just want to fuck, and then just have sex with her and be integral with her. It's an impossible answer, really. There's no age or level of experience. But definitely don't go looking for it. Definitely don't hit 28 and go, yeah, I'm ready for a wife now. Fucking sitting there with applications or swiping through Tinder, this one looks okay. This one, it's not going to work like that. Wait till you meet her. And I always say fruit and veg section in a supermarket is where I'm with my wife. Nowhere else. No clubs, no bars, nothing like that. Picking up some fucking olives in Asda.
Asda, a Waitrose.
I already go Aldi. I'm sorry, bro.
M&S and Waitrose.
M&S, I could never. I can never feed the satisfaction of M&S unless I want a pack of pepper. What are they? Percy Pigs. Percy Pigs.
Yeah, the kids love those.
Yeah.
No, this is actually something I've pondered on a great deal, and I believe that no man should get into a relationship, no matter what age he is, until he has full clarity and understanding about who he is and where the fuck he's going in life. Because I do believe that men lead women, and the reason that women find confidence attractive is because they want to be with a man that understands where he's going in life, how that's going to play out, and he feels confidence that he's going to get you and potentially her there together. And most relationships fail because men and women get into relationships with one another. They start on this journey with no destination. So therefore, without understanding how that journey is going to play out, how can I explain to you what my expectations are of you on this journey and what yours should be for me? Because I can't say to you, well, look, I just want a 4-bedroom house in the UK. I want a mediocre job, and that's my life. That's cool. All I need and want from my relationship is a wife that can, have a couple of kids with me, this, that, and the other, versus another man that's saying, well, I'm going to build an empire. I need 10, 15 years to just get my head down. I want someone that's going to support me on that either is going to work in the business or do stay at home looking after this. And I can outline those expectations, what I want from day one, and see if she's up for the ride. And it's not me forcing that on her or starting it and going, now we're 5 years in, this is what I actually want because I've just changed my mind, that's where I'm going. If people actually had an understanding of where their destination is, and then they could say, well, look, this is what I want, this is what I expect. Are you down or not? No, that's not for me. Cool. Then I'll find someone else that is. And then the whole thing works a hell of a lot better because you have confidence where you're going and everyone knows what they're getting themselves in for. It's not that hard.
So I think the best way to productivize that process is through action. I always say to guys, start off slow with a girl. When you're dating a girl, don't rush into it. Don't look for you get off the first day, oh, it was amazing, I'll see you tomorrow. You're a busy guy. I'll see you sometime next week. I'll check my schedule. I'll get back to you on, we can meet next. Had a really good time. Don't invest too much time into there. And through that process of slowly getting more intimate and, connected with her, act right and see how she follows your actions. Because I feel like a lot of relationships, and I've made this mistake, to be completely honest and vulnerable, where I was doing so well and so efficient in my work life, and I had a girlfriend, and I was telling her, listen, I need you to take care of this. This is what you need to do to me. I'm working at this time. You need to be consistently making my life easier. If you're not making my life easier, there's no place for you in my life. And then she was only doing things because I told her to. If I'm in a position where I can act the right way and act in a way that a leader should, which is by example predominantly, and I want a woman that actually looks at me and goes, wow, like he's doing his shit. Like I should be supporting him because he's doing everything for me. I see him breaking sweat and tears just to come home to me, give me a fucking kiss on the forehead and bring a beautiful steak home that I'm able to cook for us. I can see that. So my reaction is then, taking the notes off of that and acting in a sustainable manner to provide him for what he needs to continuously do that for me. So my biggest mistake and a huge message that I put out there is the action over the word process of formulating a relationship slowly and seeing how she reacts to your actions. And if she reacts in a negative way, if she sits back and goes, wow, this guy's working super hard. I'm going to try and disturb that. Babe, like you never make time for me, blah, 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 blah. Okay, goodbye. Instead of, babe, I know you're working super late tonight. So let me know if there's any way, first of all, I can make your life easier today. And second of all, what time and best is for me to be to make your day most functionable.
100%.
And when they're asking the right questions in that manner, you're like, boom, that's like fucking attractive. Like, what time are you finishing work? 9. Oh, that's too late. Why you only see me late at night? Okay, I'm gonna wake up a bit later today and make time in the evening and make sure I can come around and like let me know if you're tired. We'll just chill and grab a takeaway, or if you're not tired, we'll go out and do this, whatever. That kind of energy, which then allows you to essentially balance out and be the best man and leader in that process.
So there's 2 types of relationships that work and everything else fails. That's an empire builder, and empire builder, cheerleader. So in the case of an empire builder, both man and woman are directly contributing to the growth of the business. You might be working on it, or you're both going out, getting the bread and bringing it home and building it together. The other one is an empire builder where you're out there pushing the business, bringing in the money, and your partner's at home, fending the house, looking after you, doing what needs to be done to make you the best person you can be to go and build the empire for you both. But where most relationships fall is you have an empire builder and a fake cheerleader. She's there in disguise of a cheerleader that tells you, oh, Diego, I'm going to support you. I really want us to build this business together. I want us to see us succeed. And then, like you say, you're there working your nuts off. You're in the office. It's 9 o'clock. You've got a contract that's due the next day. You're literally doing everything you possibly can to build that life together. She's going, babe, you've been out 2 days this week. Why are you doing it? Like, why don't you just come home and see me? Just take the night off. She's pulling you home at game time because secretly what she wants more than you both building an empire together is her desire for your attention satisfied selfishly. That's a fake cheerleader. And most men have themselves a fake cheerleader, which is why they feel guilty about what they're doing. They're not supporting what they're doing. But ultimately, it might be because they're a man that couldn't attract the real one.
It's also fear. It's massive fear of loneliness for men. The fear of loneliness for men is controlling the narrative for the disaster in the dating scene we see right now. That is it. If men did not fear being alone, then we would have cancelled out the ideology that girls can have OnlyFans and marry a good, loyal, and pure man. We would have destroyed that ideology. But men fear loneliness more than girls fear shame. More than girls don't think intellectually enough to explore their fears. They're so like beautifully surface leveled and reacting on emotions. Guys are going to do this. Okay, so I'll do this. And we're almost going to war with people who don't think as logically as men notoriously do. When we fear being lonely, and we have a woman that is like 80% of what we'd like, but the 20% will gradually grow on to as any mold does. Mold grows and spreads and is very contagious. It controls the narrative that I'm going to stick with this one just in case I never find something better. The amount of guys that call me up and go, bro, I've just broken up with my girlfriend. We've been on and off for 6 months. I'm going to be honest with you. I know you say that I should leave her and that we just need to call it a day and I need to move on. But bro, she's the one. she's the one out of 4 billion girls. She's the one. She's the only one that can make you a cup of tea in the morning. She's the only one that you can have good sex with. She's one of 4 billion, right? You're like, where have you traveled to in your life? Never been outside of England. Okay. So you know 0.01% of the girls in the world, but she's the one, right? And it is the fear of loneliness. I will never find something better. The quality of woman is depriving, as the value of men are depriving. Everyone's just going down, and for that manner, I'm going to take what I can get. It's like when it was COVID, you know, everyone went to the shops, just take toilet roll and eggs, just take what I can get, because I'm not going to fucking survive without it. Like, it's a very small, pessimistic mindset to have. And going on to a question that I didn't answer productively earlier, the best thing a man can do before getting in a sustainable relationship is understand his value, because that will allow him to transparently judge the value of a woman and what she then brings to him and his table. And without understanding your own value, you won't understand the value of someone else in your life. You won't be able to judge that. You won't be able to acknowledge red flags for what they are. And it will lead to 3, 4, 5 years down the line, toxic relationships, abusive relationships, settling in relationships you're not happy with, having kids with women that you're not going to stay with, creating, families that, it's a nuclear family is something that stays together. What's a shit family?
A mess.
A nuclear family or a mess?
Catastrophe.
A catastrophe.
A shitstorm. No, but to your point, if you know your value, you know your worth. And when we know our value, we don't tolerate anything less. It's like when I speak to people, they first get into a fucking job. They're happy to take a £10 an hour home. 2 years later, when they've been slaving their bollocks off, they've made their firm a shitload of money, and they're sitting there going, I want a raise. And the boss goes, no. They go, oh, fuck you, I'm off, because I know my worth and I'm not willing to take this shit anymore because I have a tolerance for that. When men know their worth, they won't tolerate anything less than their worth. Their standard is here and everything else below is just simply not even entertained. But it takes time to understand your worth and build yourself as a character. And it also takes fucking hard work. Like, you're never going to feel a man of worth if you put nothing in. You're just going to feel maybe a little bit lucky, but you're always going to know deep down you did fuck all to get there. So you're not prideful in who you are and the work it's taken to build what you are. So therefore, you're less careful about someone potentially destroying that thing you put fuck all into. And it's crazy and wild to me how men know to get a decent physique, they have to put the work in to go to the gym. It's hard, it's blood, sweat and tears, yet they go and do it. They want to build a business or they want to go work their way up a corporate ladder. They know that's going to take hours every week. That's going to take stress. It's going to take hard work and ultimately a lot of sacrifice. They'll go and do it though to get a better wage. And then when it comes to women, they're just expecting of whatever higher caliber women comes along without actually putting the work in or becoming valuable. That's wild to me. But talking value, let's pivot a little bit, because I haven't actually had a chat with anyone in their early 20s in depth on the OnlyFans movement. Like, I don't know, I'll bring this up because I get it mentioned all the time. I'm worried about what the women on there and also the men using it are going to end up like in 10, 20 years. What's the general consensus among young men about women on OnlyFans right now? Because this whole thing is like boggling my mind. And obviously I'm speaking to both ages, but like, I'm not getting it at all.
We'll keep it brief because I hate to even feed this subject attention.
I think that I get it. So one of the biggest criticisms I've got recently is I will mention people and the platform only to help raise awareness about potentially a more positive way of viewing how bad this thing is.
It doesn't do that.
It doesn't. But it was not going anywhere. That's the problem. So ignoring it didn't seem to work. Because I tried that for a long time. So I think there does need to be an intelligent discussion amongst men that maybe have slightly more influence in this world, but in a much more positive way.
Okay, in that case, we're taking a fucking risk here, telling you guys about this. So listen the fuck up and stop being bitches. First and foremost, it depends how long people can feed their delusion for. Life right now is full of people who feed a delusion. And here's the thing. People don't know how to educate. If you want to educate someone, the best way, the most efficient way to educate someone is get them to question themselves. Get them to be honest with themselves. Because notoriously as humans, more than ever, we are so fucking defensive of everything right now because we're so worried that someone might look at us the wrong way or think about us the wrong way. And we need to be visualized as perfect all the time at every second. So when I say to you, why didn't you do that? What do you mean? I did do that. That's your, you don't even think about what I said. You don't care because you've seen Diego, you've just come against me and now it's war. But bro, I like you, my friend. I'm coming to help you. The amount of times I've called my friend, bro, why do you vape? It was your fucking business why I vape. Like what? You think I want to invest my negative emotion into you to fill me with joy? Because I fucking love you and I want you to look in the mirror. So it's the same situation we have with this industry. People are feeding their delusion. And the more Piers Morgan shouts at a girl and goes, well, your kid's going to be absolutely embarrassed in school with you. Okay, I like that. Now you're feeding your delusion that you actually like it. Even though everyone knows that having a daughter that sees their mum participating in pornography is going to be absolutely mortified. Everyone knows that. Now they're feeding themselves with the ideology that they might not actually be. When you tell yourself something so often, bro, you'll start to believe it. Until you actually take a back step and assess something, you won't understand it fully. So what's the course of action? Well, the course of action is to have meaningful, in-depth conversations. Okay, let's actually talk about this. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of me just attacking you and podcasters looking at who's going to get the most views this week? Oh, this girl. I can't even mention the names. I'm so disgusted by everything I see. I can't mention the names. And me sitting on a podcast to a girl and going, "You're disgusting. You're horrible," and her seeing that she's triggered me in some way. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'd actually sit next to a girl like this and go, "You're human. I empathize with you so much as a woman in a generation of such misinformation and people attacking you, and instead of actually having a normal conversation with you because you're a human and you have some form of brain and intellectuality and trying to understand what it is that actually gave you this process or dive in deeper to actually the effect of not having a dad had in your life, and that no one should not have a father figure in their life. Everyone should have a father and a mother figure in their life, and you're unfortunate not to have that, and I empathize with you. So let's see if there's a better course of action we can take instead of going, I'm going to drive a Ferrari and my kid's going to get bullied at school, as opposed to maybe there's another option that will fill you with fulfillment for the next 60 years. But if I can't provide that to you, who am I to tell you not to do something? If I can't have a conversation where I see you as a human, who am I to tell you how to live your life? So they're just being defensive, and the more defensive they get, the more they realistically, make the idea appropriate in their head and start to believe it. And then once someone believes something in their head, it's very hard to destroy a belief, because to destroy a belief means you have to start building new ones, and that takes effort and work. In regards to the men on the situation, it's men's responsibility. Life is men's responsibility. We can't call ourselves leaders and then hide from responsibility and play a blaming game. The whole catastrophe of dating right now is completely due to men. Men are designed and responsible to stand up for beliefs, and we fail to do so. We completely fail to do so. We consistently fail to do so because it's comfortable for us not to do it, and we're scared of the consequences. But if enough of us did it, and if enough of us spoke our mind, as we've seen in the election, when everyone's putting in a piece of paper, suddenly Trump wins. But if all of them people that voted for Trump actually were to stand behind his ideologies in public, you'd have like 1% of the people that were actually willing to do it. So men need to take responsibility for ourselves, because it's only getting worse from here. It's dangerous. I think a problem with pornography is we tell everyone, like, don't watch porn, don't jerk off, and we don't educate people as to why it's bad for you. So the addiction behind it is extremely bad for your psychology. It's super bad for your testosterone. Testosterone not as like I'm a man, but testosterone as the best measure of health for a man. Your testosterone is the best measure of health for a young man especially. So if we start to look at it as to what are actually the negative effects of this, or is it just someone shouting at me going, you shouldn't watch porn? Why? It's fucking good. It feels great. Okay, but actually it's depriving you of your capabilities. It's depriving you from putting attention and focus into being a better person. And it's also, negatively affecting your sex life. So if we actually provide guys with a realistic explanation, this is why I feel like my necessity on social media is very important. I don't need to shout at people and tell you, don't jerk off, bro. How many times in my life have I jerked off? To be shouting at a guy saying you're a pussy for jerking off? You're not a pussy. You just don't understand that the consequences are bigger than you think. None of us have sat there jerking off and thought, wow, the consequences of this are huge. I could die right now. You're not going to die, but eventually it could really, decrease your chances of productivity, of having high levels of health, and vice versa to girls. Instead of just shouting at them and going, you're a horrible human being, you deserve no level of humanity, going, well, actually, there's probably a better option. And if I was to say to you very humanely, you're probably going to be happy at 10 years' time if you take this option. So let's explore the psychology behind it together. And if you still don't agree with me after we have a humanized conversation, then I'm not going to tell you what you can and can't do, because you've got to live with your own consequences. But human to human, I appreciate you. And, I feel like it's my responsibility as someone from a high level of knowledge and understanding, because I've assessed, not because I'm an intelligent human being, because I've actually taken time to assess these matters, that maybe I could value in some way, and maybe you could educate me in some way. Why not? Why couldn't a man that spends 90% of his life jerking off not help me understand something and see something from his perspective? So if we just talk to people on a more humane level and speak to people like they actually matter, maybe we'll achieve more.
No, I'm happy you said that, because I'm of the same opinion, whereas I think we're trying to solve the pornography and OnlyFans industry through shouting at its symptom, which is the females that are now getting romanticized and glorified because of how they're being put on a pedestal. Negatively and positively, it doesn't matter. We're giving them attention. The cause is the men that are using the platform. Without the men using the platform, there is no platform. There is no money. There is no glorification. Nothing happens. And I see that pornography and OnlyFans increasing as a direct cause of the degradation of the leaders in our society and our populace. The men that we look up to and we benchmark have come down so far in caliber that all the men below them have actually started acting far more poorly. And I love that you said about leadership. You don't have to tell someone to do something, because if you are someone that is a living, breathing proof of it, they will do it. The same way, if I turn up in a Lamborghini to a school and everyone runs out and goes, oh, fuck me, how did you get that car? I worked fucking hard. They go back in the classroom and like, fucking knocking it out the park, right? Versus you turn up and go like, fucking do your exam. They're going, fuck off. Lead by example. Show them how good your life can be by being a good leader. And the problem we've got is, like you said, no one's had a sensible discussion about how the leaders, the male leaders of this country and the world, have gone completely down the fucking pan, which is why, as a result, everything has a knock-on effect. And that's the thing that's got to change. And the reason I wanted to have this discussion with you, and I hate bringing it up, is because it's guys like us that have a platform that can create the sensible discussion. And then what we need to do is hold the leaders accountable, not the women doing this thing. There's a massive issue below the women and the platform. They wouldn't exist without that. And the biggest reason is the fact that we're not holding our leaders and ourselves more accountable.
Everyone has a responsibility of empathy. And I think for the girls participating in that platform, it arrives with the idea that you are directly feeding into like the negative effect of mental health for guys. And by making something accessible, you're killing people. You are literally killing people and feeding into something negative. From a male perspective, I mean, if I asked you, what's the one thing in the world that money cannot buy? It's real connection or real sexual connection. Like, yes, money can indirectly buy attention from girls, and it can buy you prostitutes. It could even buy you a wife that pretends she loves you, but it can't buy you a wife that looks at you and goes, wow. Like every time she looks at you, a woman that looks at you, she goes, you are fucking incredible.
I like the look this then.
I gave it to you, right?
I know, I got it.
I've practiced that. Because that's real. That comes from internal, you can't fake that shit. Which is where the problem lies, right? It's not only low value men feeding into this industry, it's high value men as well. It's men that have worked extremely hard, are in their 50s or 60s and millionaires and can't get pussy. Because now, there are platforms that don't only allow you to watch, but connect with these girls and connect with the men that are typing behind the platform and make you believe that they're actually interested in you. So it comes to that, it comes to having a discussion with a 60-year-old billionaire and going, bro, ideally, you need to explore the idea of actually just getting like a 60-year-old woman that's probably a widow and happily just settle down and actually appreciate you as a person. It might take you a year to realize that she's not 20 and Russian and blonde, but she'll probably make you a good cup of tea and make you happy and give you great conversations. So yeah, I mean, the people controlling the narrative, actually, this is probably the first instance where they're not helping things because they're part of the problem as well. It's the one form of weakness for poor guys and rich guys. It's the one thing all guys share, no matter what caliber of human you are, it's our emotional weakness to vagina. It's our level of discipline when vagina is involved drops dramatically. Our level of self-control drops dramatically. Our level of value, the ability to hold value and disciplined value drops significantly. Our decision-making becomes clouded and stupid. We could be the most intelligent man in the world and there's a pussy in front of you and you're suddenly stupid. You're ignorant. So when we allow ourselves to be emotionally controlled, to think logically always, to emotionally detach from the idea that the short-term gratification of vagina is actually not that good, and having amazing sex where you can actually look at the woman after and go, wow, you're still really beautiful after I came, is a beautiful thing. And that also comes from the standards of society, right? Yo, what's your body count? Yeah, I fucked 100 girls. I went to Iron Napa last week and slept with 5 girls. Yeah, you're a G. Okay, you've probably got gonorrhea, but if you consider being a G in gonorrhea, I'm guilty of it as well. Yeah, I validated myself through sex for many years of my life because I was amazing at it. I built the development of myself to be able to actually build the confidence to achieve the results of having a lot of action, let's call it, and then became addicted to the idea that was a great measurement of how successful I am as a man. I can do this better than 99% of the world. So I'm gonna keep on doing it. And that's like a trophy for me. And then I realized, wow, that was a massive waste of time. And I don't remember like 90% of the girls' names who I slept with. So it's a bit of a shame. It's also quite disrespectful. And I probably used lack of integrity to sleep with a lot of them girls and gave them misinformation and led them on. And that sticks with me now. So integrity and honesty, and understanding yourself and being emotionally in control and being logical behind anything is incredibly essential. You've experienced all the things I'm talking about to a high level, so you have the beauty to experience. I've acknowledged it and can't wait to experience it. You've seen both sides, and probably understand which is better for you. What's so much better?
No, what you said there. The amount you masturbate, the amount of pornography you watch, the amount of OnlyFans you watch, how fat you are and out of shape you are, how broke you are, is all a reflection of how good your emotional control is. Because it's the shit you do when no one's watching that makes the biggest impact to the way you look outwardly. People don't realize is the fact that you think, like, okay, I'm masturbating. Like you said, what's the worst that can happen? No one's watching. I'm watching OnlyFans, watching porn when no one's watching. I'll fucking go and have that cake, no one's watching. But you don't realize that will show outwardly very quickly. And that's because you have poor emotional control. And that's because you haven't worked on yourself. There's something massively wrong inside. And in my life, the periods at which I've been most emotionally toxic have expressed themselves in every single one of the pillars in my life going down a tremendous amount because I'm making poor decisions when I don't think anyone's there because I can't stop myself. And that is on you, which is empowering because that means we all have the power within us to actually stop those things happening.
But also thinking that doesn't have an impact externally is ignorant because essentially you're depriving yourself from trusting yourself and therefore directly depriving yourself from being confident as a human. So the confidence becomes facaded, and as opposed to, no one's watching me eat that piece of cake, you watch yourself. And I put the analogy across to people a lot. Like if your friend tells you, I'm going to be here 12 o'clock, I'll see you tomorrow. Right? And he arrives at 12, and he arrives at 12:05. The next week he does the same thing. He arrives at 12:10. Same thing. Next day, 12:15, whatever. He's 5, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes late every time. When he tells you the next time, I'm going to be there at 12, are you going to trust him that he's going to be there at 12? Of course not. You can be a best mate. Of course you're not going to trust him that he's there at 12. So the same way trust works with other people, the same way if you tell me, bro, I'm going to pay you that money I owe you back, and then you end up gambling and not paying me back, until the next week when you say it and you make another excuse. I don't trust you now. I never trust you to lend you money again. It's the same way we have. Why do we think we don't have that self-trust inside of ourselves? If you give yourself your word as a man, I'm not eating cake this week, and then I eat that cake, or I'm not going to jerk off that week. Now you lose the trust for yourself, which is a very dangerous thing, because when you don't trust yourself, it's much harder for you to take action and accountability and ownership within your life. And you fake it more, and then you become, or you end up in a deluded kind of mind frame of how real your value and worth is. So trusting yourself is super important. I say to guys, the best thing you can do is set a goal, promise yourself, give yourself your word, write it down, tell someone else, tell your best friend, bro, by the way, I'm on a keto diet this week. Okay, bro, good news. Why the fuck did you tell me? I'm just telling you, right? Then you're in Nando's. Yo, can I get some chips? Your friend, what the fuck are you doing on a keto diet? Or even if it's that, you're not going to get it because he's there watching. At least when people are watching, you not doing it is good, but obviously you need to put the work in behind closed doors as well. So make yourself promises, write it on a post-it note, take full accountability. I mean, reminders in phones and alarms in phones. You heard my alarm go off like straight when I was here, because I told myself I'm going to post 5 times on X every single day. I've got 5 alarms on my phone because I know without them I'm not going to do it. And I don't want to tell myself I'm going to do something and not do it, because that ruins my level of self-worth and understanding. It's imperative. It's the amount you trust yourself will directly correlate to how confident you can be naturally, how much energy you can exude.
You exuded that word very well.
It was well exuded, right?
It's well exuded.
I still can't get it. Exude. Crazy.
Like ood.
Yeah.
With an exude.
Exude.
But I think we wrap it up soon, but I think the most important thing is you and I both come from very different, I think, perspectives on life. You're definitely younger than me and are going to experience a lot of stuff that I've gone through, got the t-shirt, fucked up all of it. But then we're also very aligned in that we have a very similar understanding that as a man, the most empowering thing for us to know is that we're fully in control of everything. And our life can be made exactly how we want it to be made if we know and we become the person deserving of that. Which for me is both scary and empowering all at the same time. And the only people that won't want to listen to that message are the ones that don't want to believe that they're in control, and they'll never be in control and never have the life that they want. The ones that sit there and actually listen to that, take it on board and actually go and work on it, will have the best life ever. And hopefully more and more people listen. And thank you for that, because I think both of us can be misconstrued in our messages and people don't understand what we're actually saying, because it ultimately boils down to the same thing. As a man, you're fully in control. You can have the life that you want. And that's on you, nobody else. You're fully accountable. And ultimately, you get the one fucking life that you're given. And if you make bad choices and you don't become the person deserving a good one, the fucking thing's going by and you've got nothing left.
I think a really, really good and powerful way to close off is by saying that accountability and ownership can seem very scary, because I think naturally, if you take complete understanding, ownership and accountability, it creates a little dent in what you've already got. Mm-hmm. Usually it means that you have to go a bit deeper and probably tell yourself you're not as good as you think or are portraying. But the best message to conclude everything we've spoken about is that level of accountability and ownership that you have to go down a little bit will propel you, or allow you the opportunity to propel much higher. And without taking full ownership and accountability for everything in your life, it's going to be a very hard journey to elevate.
Well, Diego, every day is a good day.
Of course.
Pleasure.
Thank you, bro.